Child of the waking world, pause. Breathe. Feel the subtle currents that weave through the air, the whispers just beyond the threshold of hearing. Do you truly see the world as it is, or as it is shown to you? Are your thoughts your own, or echoes planted deep within the fertile soil of your mind? We stand at a crossroads, ancient whispers calling to us from beyond the veil of manufactured noise. These are not just idle questions. They are keys to chambers within your own consciousness, chambers that hold both shadow and light, prison and liberation. For millennia, wise ones knew that power lay not merely in brute force, but in the shaping of perception, in the subtle redirection of the river of human will. They understood the intricate dance of cause and effect that ripples through the tapestry of cosmic energy. Their ancestral wisdom, often dismissed as myth or buried in forbidden texts, spoke of forces that influence the collective spirit, of hidden mysteries awaiting the light of spiritual illumination. But today, these ancient arts have been twisted, weaponized, turned against the very souls they once sought to uplift. This journey we are about to undertake is not for the faint of heart. It is an exploration of the unseen architecture that underpins our shared reality, a dissection of the methods used to guide, shape, and ultimately control the collective mind. It is an anatomy, peeling back layers of illusion, revealing the sinews and bones of a system designed to keep us tethered, consuming, compliant, and tragically unaware. This is the path of inner alchemy, transforming ignorance into understanding, fear into courage. What if I told you that your desires, your fears, your very sense of self have been meticulously engineered? That the grand theater of modern life is a stage where your participation, your consent is not just assumed, but carefully cultivated? This is not a conspiracy theory whispered in hushed tones. It is a demonstrable history, a lineage of techniques, refined over centuries, now operating on a scale unimaginable to those who walked before us. Open your eyes. Prepare to see the familiar made strange, the comfortable made unsettling. This is the beginning of your re-education, a journey back to the authentic self buried beneath layers of programmed identity. If this resonates, if a spark ignites within, you acknowledging the possibility that there is more to perceive, then join this quest. Like this message, let your acknowledgement ripple outwards. Comment below with the questions that stir within your soul as we delve into these depths. And subscribe so you do not lose the thread as we navigate the labyrinth of control and seek the path to true spiritual illumination. Our first thread, our initial clue in this grand unraveling, leads us back to a time often romanticized, the roaring 20s, yet a period seething with unseen shifts. The air crackled with newfound freedoms, technological marvels, and the intoxicating scent of possibility. Or so the narrative goes. Yet beneath the surface, a different kind of power was coalescing, born not of brute force, but of psychological insight. Our guide, or perhaps our cautionary tale, in this first step is a man named Edward Bernays. Nephew to Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, Bernays inherited not just a family name, but a profound understanding of the hidden springs that drive human behavior, the irrational desires, the unconscious impulses, the deep-seated fears that lie beneath the veneer of civilized conduct. Bernays didn't just read his uncle's work. He saw it as a blueprint for mass manipulation. If Freud could uncover the hidden motivations of the individual psyche, Bernays reasoned, could those same principles be applied to guide the masses? Could the insights into repression, sublimation, and desire be scaled up to shape the behavior of millions? He called his craft public relations, a softer, more palatable term than its ancestor, propaganda, a word tarnished by the Great War. But the essence remained, the systematic shaping of public opinion and action to serve a specific agenda. Consider the challenge laid before him, the tobacco industry. Cigarettes were widely consumed by men, but considered unladylike, even scandalous, for women to smoke in public. A vast, untapped market lay dormant, constrained by social norms and ancestral wisdom that, in its own way, understood the dangers of certain habits, even if not through chemical analysis alone. How do you convince half the population to adopt a habit deemed inappropriate, even vulgar, to break a societal taboo woven into the fabric of behavior for generations? You don't sell the product. You sell a feeling, an identity, a dream. The year is 1929, Easter Sunday in New York City. The annual Easter parade down Fifth Avenue is a spectacle of high society, a public display of elegance and status. Bernays, consulting for the American Tobacco Company, saw not just a parade, but a stage. He had secretly hired a group of fashionable, young women to participate with specific instructions. At a signal, they were to light cigarettes, not surreptitiously, but openly, defiantly. He tipped off the press, framing the act not as a marketing stunt, but as a bold statement by women asserting their equality, their right to freedom. He coined a phrase, potent and symbolic: torches of freedom. Think about the symbolism here. Child. A cigarette, a simple rolled paper and tobacco, transformed through linguistic and performative alchemy into a torch, a symbol instantly resonant with ancient ideals of enlightenment, liberty, the Statue of Liberty herself. Torches have guided humanity out of darkness, signaled defiance against oppression, illuminated paths forward. By linking the act of smoking a cigarette to the profound, archetypal yearning for freedom, Bernays bypassed rational deliberation. He didn't argue the merits of the tobacco. He tapped directly into the burgeoning suffragette movement, the fight for women's rights, the desire for liberation from societal constraints. He took a personal, potentially harmful habit and elevated it into a political statement, a symbol of empowerment. This is a foundational principle of collective mind control, a key clue in the hidden mysteries we are uncovering. It is not about presenting facts or logical arguments. It is about associating a desired action or belief with deeply held values, aspirations, or fears. It is the engineering of consent through the manipulation of symbols and emotions. Bernays understood that the masses are often moved more by unconscious urges and symbolic associations than by reason. He saw that societal norms, built over time through ancestral wisdom and cultural evolution, could be rapidly dismantled or reshaped if you could hijack the symbols associated with progress and liberation. He didn't just sell cigarettes. He sold rebellion. He sold equality. He sold the image of a modern, independent woman, confident and free, cigarette in hand. The power of this technique was staggering. The taboo began to crumble. Public smoking by women became increasingly accepted, then fashionable, then ubiquitous. A market worth billions was opened not through innovation or necessity, but through psychological manipulation and the strategic deployment of symbolism. This event, the Torches of Freedom Parade, was a watershed moment. It demonstrated, with chilling clarity, the potential to shape collective behavior on a grand scale by targeting the subconscious. Bernays wasn't selling a product's features. He was selling an identity. He was selling the feeling of being free, modern, and equal. The physical product became merely a prop in a larger play about self-image and societal belonging. This technique is now the bedrock of modern advertising, political campaigning, and public messaging. Look around you. How many products or ideologies are sold not on their intrinsic value, but on the lifestyle, the status, the emotional state they represent? This marked a shift from simply informing or persuading to subtly engineering desires and perceptions. Bernays articulated this philosophy in his writings, notably in his book, Propaganda, 1928, a title he later tried to distance himself from, preferring public relations. In this text, which could be considered one of the forbidden texts of Hong. Modern manipulation. He openly discussed the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses. He argued that this manipulation was a necessary tool in a complex society, essential for order and efficiency. He saw it not as a tool for tyranny, but as a means for a hidden elite to guide the unruly masses towards desired outcomes, often without their conscious awareness or consent. Reflect on this. If a single symbolic act, orchestrated by a man who understood the levers of the subconscious, could so drastically alter a widespread social norm and open a massive market, what else is being shaped around us using similar but far more sophisticated techniques? What other freedoms are being offered that are, in fact, cleverly disguised forms of control or consumption? What aspects of our identity, our values, our very understanding of the world are being curated and presented to us for adoption? Bernays' work was a practical application of insights into the hidden mysteries of the human mind, twisted from a tool of potential spiritual illumination into a mechanism for profit and control. His understanding of the irrational, while perhaps rooted in his uncle's groundbreaking work, became a cornerstone for exploiting those very irrationalities for commercial and political gain. This was not ancestral wisdom guiding towards harmony. This was a calculated deconstruction of social fabric for engineered outcomes. The Bernays example is not just a historical anecdote. It is a foundational lesson in the anatomy we are dissecting. It shows us that the first step in collective control is often the subversion of meaning, the redefinition of symbols, and the targeting of emotional and unconscious drivers rather than rational thought. It is the art of making people want what you want them to have, often against their long-term interests. The cigarette, detrimental to health, became a torch of freedom. What are the torches of freedom being offered to us today? Digital connectivity, unfettered consumption, access to endless entertainment? Each must be examined, peeled back to see what is truly being sold and at what cost. This historical clue reveals the depth of the challenge. The forces at play are not crude. They are subtle, sophisticated, operating below the surface of our conscious awareness. They speak the language of symbols, emotions, and identity. Understanding this initial step, the birth of social engineering as applied by Bernays, is crucial. It is the entry point into recognizing the pervasive nature of the system we will explore. It shows how the very fabric of our cultural landscape, the norms we accept, the desires we pursue, can be meticulously woven by unseen hands. The torches. A freedom campaign wasn't just about selling cigarettes. It was about selling the idea of freedom as synonymous with consumption and breaking traditional boundaries, regardless of the inherent value or harm of the product itself. This decoupling of freedom from responsibility, from genuine spiritual or intellectual liberation, and coupling it instead with a commercial act, is a key mechanism still in play today. It trains us to seek liberation not within ourselves, through inner alchemy and conscious choice, but externally, through the acquisition of products or the performance of engineered behaviors. Bernays essentially proved that you could manufacture desire, not just satisfy it. He demonstrated that you could bypass logical gatekeepers in the mind and speak directly to the deeper, often irrational layers of the psyche. This insight, this technique, is a dark mirror to the practices of spiritual illumination that seek to understand and integrate the subconscious. Instead, it seeks to exploit and manipulate it. It takes the raw power of cosmic energy that flows through human consciousness and channels it towards predetermined, often self-serving ends. His work and the legacy it spawned represents a departure from older forms of influence. While ancient rulers used propaganda and symbolism, Bernays, armed with the insights of modern psychology, elevated it to a science. He moved beyond simple coercion or overt persuasion to a more insidious form of control, engineering the very environment in which thoughts and desires are formed. He understood if you could control the narrative, if you could control the symbols, you could control the population, often making them enthusiastic participants in their own manipulation. This is the first layer of the anatomy we are uncovering. The recognition that much of what we perceive as genuine choice or spontaneous desire is, in fact, the result of careful planning and psychological manipulation on a mass scale. The Bernays story is a stark, historical example of how this process began to be systemized in the modern era. It highlights the danger of symbols, detached from their true meaning and weaponized for commercial or political gain. It is a call to be vigilant, to question the narratives presented to us, and to look beyond the surface, seeking the deeper currents that shape our world. To truly see requires a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths, to acknowledge that the threads of control are woven not just by external forces, but are also, in a sense, internalized, accepted, and even defended by the very people they bind. The legacy of Bernays is all around us, in every advertisement, every political slogan, every trend that sweeps through society. It is the whisper that tells you what you need to be happy, who you need to be to belong, what you need to buy to be free. And that whisper is carefully crafted, designed to resonate with your deepest, often unconscious, desires and fears. This initial step, understanding the Bernays paradigm of selling identity and manipulating symbols, is foundational. It provides the lens through which we will examine the subsequent layers of this pervasive system of collective mind control. It is a reminder that the battle for our consciousness is not fought with armies, but with ideas, symbols, and engineered emotions. The path to spiritual illumination begins with seeing the shadow for what it is, understanding its mechanisms, and reclaiming the power of conscious choice from the grip of unseen engineers. This journey will require courage. It will require doubt, where there is certainty, and curiosity, where there is complacency. It will challenge deeply held beliefs about the nature of freedom and the reality we inhabit. But the prize is liberation, the possibility of living a life guided by inner wisdom and authentic desire, rather than engineered consent. The Bernays story is merely the opening page of a much larger, more complex narrative that has unfolded throughout the last century and continues to shape our present. It is a vital clue that points towards the deeper architecture of control that operates not just in the marketplace, but in the very fabric of our thoughts and interactions. We must delve deeper to truly understand the anatomy of this pervasive influence. Observe this Bernays figure, this architect of consent. His genius lay not in the mere promotion of a product, but in the calculated capture of a powerful, almost primal symbol: the torch, fire, light. For millennia, torches signified guidance, enlightenment, defiance, even a sacred connection to the divine or the courage to venture into darkness. They appear in ancient rituals, myths, and philosophical treatises. Consider the Statue of Liberty, a beacon. Bernays, with a chilling efficiency, twisted this deep embedded symbolism. He didn't sell nicotine. He sold an identity, an act of rebellion, a claimed slice of that elusive freedom by coupling it with fire held aloft by women. This wasn't just advertising. It was a form of applied, inverse ancestral wisdom. He leveraged deep-seated cultural associations, not for collective well-being or spiritual illumination, but for commercial gain and social re-engineering. He understood a fundamental truth, often relegated to forbidden texts or the whispered knowledge of mystery schools, that symbols hold power, capable of stirring the subconscious, bypassing the rational mind. The true hidden mysteries are often not locked away in vaults, but are the foundational principles of human psychology and collective behavior, openly exploited in the market square and political arena. Bernays' work was a crude, early form, of inner alchemy, not aimed at transmuting lead into gold within the individual soul, but at transmuting base desires and anxieties into mass behavior through external manipulation of symbols. He wasn't working with metals and elements, but with archetypes and aspirations, attempting to reshape the collective psyche from the outside in. This wasn't a one-off trick. It was the laying of a cornerstone for a grander structure of control. The Torches of Freedom campaign was a practical demonstration of how to engineer public opinion, how to create desire where none existed, how to link deeply held values to trivial consumer choices. It revealed that perception could be sculpted, not just informed. And if perception can be sculpted on this scale, what does that imply about the reality we believe we inhabit? It suggests a constant, unseen effort to direct the flow of human attention and aspiration, subtly disrupting our connection to genuine intuition and the broader currents of cosmic energy. Bernays showed the way. Find the resonant symbol, attach it to your agenda, and watch the collective mind follow. But this was just the manual phase. What happens when this understanding is amplified by technology? When the engineers gain access not just to public symbols, but to the deepest recesses of your personal psyche, your every click, every query, every dream? The groundwork was laid. The tools were primitive. The subsequent evolution of this engineering reaches into realms Bernays could only have dreamed of, moving from the crowd to the individual, paving the way for a control far more intricate, far more pervasive. But Bernays, for all his cunning, was still working with blunt instruments. He aimed at the collective, the herd mind, using broadcasting and print. Crude. The true refinement of this architecture came with the digital age, didn't it? When the engineer gains access not just to the public square, but to the labyrinthine corridors of your individual consciousness. Every search query you whisper into the void, every link you click, every duration you pause on an image, these are not merely data points. They are fragments of your psychic blueprint. They map your desires, your fears, your vulnerabilities, your deepest, often unacknowledged inclinations. Consider it. If ancestral wisdom spoke of the Akashic records as a cosmic library of all thoughts and deeds, then perhaps the modern data centers are a pale, distorted echo, not a record of existence, but a tool for shaping it. This omnipresent surveillance, this constant gathering of the individual's energetic signature, allows for a level of predictive analysis that ancient seers could only dream of. Your future actions, your potential rebellions, your very thoughts can be anticipated and thus preempted or gently nudged into a preferred channel. This isn't just about selling you shoes. It's about subtly directing the flow of your awareness, hijacking your path towards spiritual illumination before you even recognize it. Think of the algorithms not just as complex calculations, but as modern incantations seeking to bind your will. They study your unique patterns of engagement, identifying the hidden springs of your behavior, the hidden mysteries of your personal landscape. And then they craft a reality tunnel specifically for you, a curated stream of information, emotion, and perceived truth designed to reinforce certain beliefs and suppress others. It's a perversion of inner alchemy. Instead of transmuting base fears into golden courage, the external architecture uses those fears to forge chains of compliant behavior. They feed you a carefully calibrated diet of information, often derived from digitized forbidden texts or fragmented knowledge, twisted from its original context, not to enlighten, but to ensnare. This system learns. It adapts. It observes your reactions to the carefully constructed stimuli and refines its approach. It's a constant feedback loop, drawing energy from your very attention, your emotional responses. It taps into the flow of cosmic energy that animates you, but redirects its current, bending your own life force towards its agenda. The most insidious part? You actively participate. You feed the system with your data. You engage with the content. You internalize the engineered narratives, often defending them vehemently because they have become woven into your sense of self. You become the unwitting architect of your own cage, using bricks provided by the very hands that seek to confine you. But if this architecture operates within consciousness itself, what are the deeper foundations? What are the primal patterns or energetic structures it exploits? The very ones perhaps hinted in ancient cosmologies or forgotten sciences? Ah, the deeper foundations. You seek the bedrock beneath the sandcastles of manufactured reality. Consider the information stream not merely as a river flowing past you, but as a carefully engineered canal system. Every twist, every narrowing, every dam is placed with intent. This is where the echoes of forgotten patterns resonate most strongly. The architecture we discussed thrives by understanding fundamental truths about perception and consciousness. Truths hinted at, perhaps, in suppressed volumes or fragmented pieces of ancestral wisdom. Knowledge deemed too potent for the uninitiated masses. They don't merely censor, they curate. They build a narrative not from whole cloth, but by selectively highlighting certain threads and meticulously burying others. News, entertainment, the buzzing hive of social consensus. These are the filters. They are the modern-day gatekeepers, guarding not just physical lands or treasures, but the gateways to collective awareness. This deliberate filtering is a perversion of a sacred process. True spiritual illumination comes from integrating all aspects of existence, light and shadow, comfort and challenge. But this system feeds you only a pre-digested, homogenized paste designed to soothe your anxieties and solidify your biases. It prevents the friction, the dissonance required for genuine inner alchemy. You cannot transmute what you are not permitted to see or acknowledge exists. Look at the history. Empires have always understood the power of controlling the story. Burning libraries, rewriting chronicles, silencing dissenters. These are crude, physical acts. The modern method is far more subtle, operating directly upon the subtle energies of mind and emotion. It sifts through the vast sea of potential information, selecting only that which reinforces a desired worldview, discards what challenges it, and actively injects carefully crafted falsehoods to fill the gaps. This selective pressure doesn't just shape opinion. It sculpts the very landscape of what is considered possible or true. It draws energy from your fear, your outrage, your validation-seeking clicks, a feedback loop that siphons off your cosmic energy and directs it towards reinforcing the structure that confines you. The stories you consume become the walls of your perception. What if the real forbidden texts aren't dusty scrolls, but the unfiltered data streams, the inconvenient truths, the genuine expressions of independent thought before they are parsed, policed, and rendered harmless or invisible by the algorithms? This intricate web of controlled information doesn't just serve political or economic masters. It serves a deeper agenda, one concerned with controlling the very potential for human consciousness to awaken to its full power. It keeps the hidden mysteries buried, not just in ancient sites, but within the untapped potential of your own being, ensuring you remain preoccupied with the surface ripples rather than diving into the depths. But if the filter is so potent, so pervasive, does it eventually create a reality separate from the underlying truth? If the external narrative dictates the internal state, what happens when the projection becomes indistinguishable from the perceived reality, not just for individuals, but for the collective? How do you find the genuine current beneath the engineered flow? And if the stories themselves are cages, who are the wardens? Consider the flickering images projected upon the collective mind, particularly those grand epics of conflict and consequence that emerge from the silver screen. It is not merely coincidence, nor organic cultural resonance, that paints heroism in such stark, unwavering lines or casts adversaries in shadows of uncomplicated villainy. There exists, and has for generations, a calculated choreography between the architects of war and the weavers of tales in the glittering halls of Hollywood. A silent pact, a subtle exchange. Access to vast, expensive military resources, the ships, the planes, the legions necessary to lend authenticity to the cinematic battlefield, in return for the gentle, yet firm, hand of approval upon the script. Every dialogue line concerning duty, every visual depicting sacrifice, every narrative beat reinforcing national purpose or the righteousness of intervention is subject to scrutiny. This is not art imitating life. It is life being subtly, systematically sculpted to imitate a preferred form of art. This process draws deeply from wells of ancestral wisdom regarding myth and archetype, twisting their power to modern ends. Ancient heroes faced internal demons or cosmic forces. Modern ones often battle state-sanctioned enemies, their struggles carefully framed to promote specific geopolitical stances. The real forbidden texts in this context might be the unvarnished accounts of human cost, the complexities of causality, the narratives that dismantle the comforting simplicity of the hero's journey when applied to real-world carnage. Exchange is a profound act of inner alchemy on a societal scale, attempting to transmute the base lead of complex, often ambiguous reality into the gleaming gold of patriotic fervor and unquestioning support. It's an energetic feedback loop, draining cosmic energy from critical thought and redirecting it into manufactured consent, ensuring spiritual illumination remains dimmed by the glare of carefully curated illusion. It keeps the hidden mysteries, the true nature of power, the motives behind manufactured conflict, the suppressed potential for genuine peace, locked away behind the captivating spectacle. But if the images are so potent, so pervasive, what happens when the projected reality begins to overwrite the historical one? When the cinematic myth becomes more real in the collective consciousness than the documented truth? And what happens when the technology used to project these illusions evolves, becoming not just external screens, but integrated facets of perception itself? So if the tapestry of reality is being rewoven with threads of manufactured myth, what keeps eyes fixed upon the dazzling pattern, blind to the nodding fingers behind the loom? Distraction, an ancient art perfected over epochs. From the simple yet potent bread and circuses offered to the plebeians of Rome, physical spectacle, base sustenance, a blunt instrument to avert gaze from crumbling foundations, and burgeoning inequality, we see the ancestral wisdom of power structures at play. Keep them fed, keep them entertained, keep their attention occupied, and the hidden mysteries of governance, the mechanisms of subjugation, remain safely obscured, tucked behind the gaudy spectacle, but the evolution is chillingly sophisticated. Now, the Colosseum has gone digital. The bread is now endless streams of fleeting information, carefully curated by algorithms forged not merely in corporate labs, but it is whispered in the very crucibles where psychological warfare meets neurological science. Neuroscientists employed not for healing the mind, but for mapping its vulnerabilities, crafting digital architectures designed to hook, to hold, to drain. This isn't mere entertainment. It is a high-precision tool engineered to hijack the mind. Itself, a parasitic presence siphoning off cognitive energy, preventing the sustained focus necessary for critical thought, for deep introspection, for the very inner alchemy required to transmute base experience into wisdom, fear into courage, ignorance into understanding. Every scroll, every notification, every fleeting image is a carefully placed obstacle course for the mind, designed to scatter attention, to fragment consciousness into a million shimmering shallow puddles. It starves the soul of the quiet, persistent presence needed for spiritual illumination, keeping the inner light of awareness flickering uncertainly in the relentless gale of digital noise. The cosmic energy that could be harnessed for profound growth, for challenging falsehoods, for building a richer, more authentic reality, is instead dissipated into the vast, insatiable maw of the attention economy. It ensures that the real, Forbidden's texts aren't moldy scrolls in forgotten libraries, but the unread books on your shelf, the uncomfortable conversations you never have, the quiet, challenging thoughts you never pursue to their conclusion, because the urgent, glittering superficiality demands your immediate, constant tribute. It's a subtle, pervasive form of warfare against the self, designed to keep us perpetually on the surface, skimming across a vast, shallow pond, while the profound, potentially disruptive depths remain undisturbed. But what is the true purpose of this perpetual diversion? Is it merely to maintain the status quo, to control the flow of information? Or is it to prevent something far more significant from emerging? If our attention is the most valuable currency, what treasure are they so desperately trying to keep us from discovering within ourselves? What power lies dormant beneath the surface turbulence they so meticulously maintain? Reclaiming attention is the path to inner alchemy, transmuting distraction into spiritual illumination. It is accessing ancestral wisdom, unlocking the hidden mysteries within. The true Forbidden's texts are read when you silence the noise, directing cosmic energy inwards. Are you ready to read your own soul's inscription? Share your reflections below. Subscribe for more journeys beyond the surface. And when you are ready, continue the ascent with this next video.